الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. My brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, the topic that we will be discussing today is of course very, very important, very crucial for every single Muslim to have deep insight about. And that is because, my brothers and sisters, one of the biggest problems and issues that our Muslim youth are facing today is the doubts that the atheists have been spreading, especially in places like the university. And whenever they get the opportunity, one of the biggest ideological attacks that is coming from them is through the Masail al-Qadr, and the matters pertaining the preordained decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the atheist turns around and he says, if there was really a God, how can He allow all this suffering to take place? If there was really a God, or as you lot claim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Arhamur Rahimin, is the most merciful from those who are merciful, then how can He allow all of these kids to pass away? A car crash takes place, there's maybe 4, 5, 6 people in there, and the most of those who are in the car are children. The only one that comes out still living or alive is the parent, mathalan. And all of these innocent kids have passed away. So if there was really a God, just like any merciful individual would do, if he saw a number of children passing away, or they were maybe in danger, that person would run towards sorting this problem out, right? So if there was really a God, how can He allow this to take place? Two people, they love one another. How can, if there's really a God, allow this divorce to take place when there's going to be kids in between, they will be abandoned, and so on and so forth? So my brothers and sisters, in order for us to be able to understand or maybe know how to rebuke some of these doubts, is that we first need to build our foundation with regards to what Al-Qadr is and its pillars, and to try and understand it properly. Because if we don't have that, we're just going to be all over the place, and it's just going to get even more confusing. But before I do that, my brothers and sisters, I just want to quickly mention the importance of Al-Aqidah. Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, one giving a lot of concern to his ibadah, perfecting his prayer, perfecting his fast, is something that is crucial and important for a person's well-being aslan in this dunya, and likewise for his akhirah. But my brothers and sisters, if our beliefs are corrupt and they're not in line with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to believe, it could be that we come on Yawm al-Qiyamah and we have truly wasted our times, and our actions will be like haba'an manthura. It will be like scattered particle. Like Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentioned something very powerful, my brothers and sisters, just to show us the importance of the aqaid, of having the correct belief. He said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. This Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, swearing by Allah, by the one whom my soul is in his hand. لو أن لأحدكم مثل أحد ذهبا ثم أنفقه في سبيل الله. If anybody had a mountain of gold like Uhud, and then he gave it in charity, my brothers and sisters, it takes 4 or 5 hours to climb all the way to the top of the mountain of Uhud. And you can imagine if you was to now convert that into pounds and dollars, how much that would come out to be. ثم أنفقه في سبيل الله, gave this in charity. ما قبله الله منه حتى يؤمن بالقدر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't accept it from him until he believes in the qadar. My brothers and sisters, al-qadar is just one aspect from the many aspects that one needs to believe in. Imagine a person, he is somebody who constantly prays at night. He comes with that immense reward. He is somebody who is a sawam, constantly fasting. But because there is a khalal, a deficiency in his aqidah, all of that gets rejected from him, as Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu mentioned. حَتَّى يُؤْمِنَ بِالْقَدْرِ, until he believes in the qadr. And that's just one aspect. And likewise, the same goes with believing that maybe the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam can remove the difficulties and the problems that we are suffering from in our lives. This is one belief. But then he is in accordance with every other correct belief. Again, Allah says in the Quran, وَلَوْ أَشْرَكُوا لَحَبِطَ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Had they fallen into shirk, every other action they come with will be void, it will be totally fruitless. Also, another important aspect, my brothers and sisters, when we see corruption taking place with the limbs, it's always initiated or started with the belief. The person who goes and blows himself up and he believes that he is getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that, he didn't go and blow himself up except after a doubt entered into his heart. And then it became a firm belief. It started off with the belief, my brothers and sisters. As Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala in his kitab Iqtida' Salat al-Mustaqim, he mentions, فَقَلَّ مَنْ تَجِدْ فِي اعْتِقَادِهِ فَسَادًا إِلَّا وَهُوَ يُظْهِرُ ذَلِكَ فِي عَمَلِهِ. Barely do you find that a person, he has corruption in his belief, except that this will now become apparent on his limbs. It all started off, my brothers and sisters, with one belief, that then later on caused him now to blow himself up. And a lot of these Muslim brothers and sisters who have then renegated out of Islam, left the fold of Islam, it all started off with a doubt that entered into their hearts. My brothers and sisters, and excuse me for maybe coming across a bit harsh, but a lot of our youngsters today, they're becoming atheists, and that's maybe because we haven't given that concern, that effort in maybe teaching them the religion of Islam. We as parents who have been given the religious obligation to be teaching our youngsters, to be teaching our kids the deen of Islam, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us, ما من عبد يسترعيه الله رعية يموت يوم يموت وهو غاش لرعيته إلا حرم الله عليه الجنة. Never does Allah Azza wa Jal place a responsibility upon anybody, and He doesn't fulfill that responsibility except that Allah Azza wa Jal makes the Jannah haram for that person. Why? Kayf? Through another narration we are told, وَلَمْ يُحِطْهَا بِنُصْحِهِ. He doesn't advise that individual accordingly. He says one of the best, sweetest of feelings that a person can endure in his life, when Allah Azza wa Jal blesses him with a kid, but he comes with a, truly great responsibility. Of course, we want them to get degrees, we want them to become well educated and have an academic background. But my brothers and sisters, we've chucked them into a jungle. That's exactly what it is. A jungle of doubts. And this is coming from somebody who's gone to a university. People are learning our religion from the Orientalists and the atheists, just so they can strip a person of his iman. And this is one of the means that they use through the Masail al-Qadr. So my brothers and sisters, as I mentioned earlier, we need to obviously build our foundation with regards to al-Qadr, so later on we can understand some of these doubts that were previously mentioned. This is firstly, my brothers and sisters, from the umur al-ghayb, from the matters of the unseen, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised those individuals who have a firm belief in it, as Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Those who believe in the unseen, and those who establish the prayer and they spend in charity from that which we have gifted them with. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says right at the end, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. These are the people that are guided, and they are the ones who are going to be successful. So it's from the matters of the unseen. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has praised these individuals who have a firm belief with regards to the matters of the unseen. Can we see the Qadr? We can't see the Qadr. There are certain aspects in our religion that we can see, and there are certain aspects of the religion that we can't see. My brothers and sisters, the Qadr is built on 4 important matters. The Qadr is built on 4 important matters. The first one is al-ilm. The first one is al-ilm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that which has taken place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that which is taking place. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that which is going to take place. And if something was going to take place, He knows how this would be taking place. I think the first one is a bit wadih. It's quite clear, and the evidences are well known. There was a time, my brothers and sisters, that Abdurrahman ibn al-Himyari, alayhi rahmatullah, Abdurrahman ibn al-Himyari and also Yahya ibn Ya'mar, they were from the Tabi'een, and they went out hajjin, or in some narration it says mu'tamirin. They went to perform hajj, or maybe they went to perform umrah, as it came in some narrations in Sahih Muslim. So they said, فَإِذَا لَقِيتَ أُولَٰئِكَ when they went off, they wanted to meet anybody who would be able to give them some insight with regards to some of the doubts that were being spread. So when they went to Mecca, my brothers and sisters, and they entered into the haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they asked around, who is from the akbar minhum? Who is from those who were from the eldest amongst the companions? So, and they ended up bumping into Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So, they mentioned, Aba Abdurrahman, إِنَّهُ قَدْ ظَهَرَ قِبَلَنَا نَاسٌ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنِ وَيَتَفَقَّرُونَ الْعِلْمِ. Indeed, there is a group of people that have come forth who recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they also claim to have knowledge. وَذَكَرَ مِنْ شَأْنِهِمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ يَزْعُمُونَ أَنْ لَا قَدَرَ وَأَنَّ الْأَمْرَ أُنُفٌ. They believe that there is something called that the amr is unuf, which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not know that something is taking place until it takes place. So I have this bottle now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't know I'm going to drop the bottle like that until I drop it. So this was something that took place in the time of Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala responded back and he said, فَإِذَا لَقِيتَ أُولَٰئِكَ فَأَخْبِرْهُمْ أَنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّنْهُمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ بُرَآءٌ مِّنِّي. Tell them that I am free from them and they are free from me. وَالَّذِي يَحْلِفُ بِهِ Abdullah ibn Umar. And then he mentioned the narration that I mentioned earlier, if they were to spend in charity a mountain like Uhud in gold, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't accept it from them until they believe in the Qadr. So like I mentioned, my brothers and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jal knows that which is taking place, that which has taken place, and that which is going to take place. And if something was going to take place, how this would take place. Okay, the last point, my brothers and sisters, very, very quickly. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, Allah Azza wa Jal tells in the Quran, the state of those on Yawm al-Qiyamah. وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذْ وُقِفُوا عَلَى النَّارِ فَقَالُوا يَا لَيْتَنَا نُرَدُّ وَلَا نُكَذِّبَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّنَا وَنَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah says in the Quran, when these people now are stood in front of the hellfire, with وُقِفُوا عَلَى النَّارِ فَقَالُوا يَا لَيْتَنَا نُرَدُّ وَلَا نُكَذِّبَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّنَا. If only we can have a return and go back so that we don't deny the verses of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, بَلْ بَدَا لَهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يُخْفُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِ وَلَوْ رُدُّوا لَعَادُوا لِمَا نُهُوا عَنْهُ وَإِنَّهُمْ لَكَاذِبُونَ. If they were to go back, they would do the exact same thing that they left off doing. Even though they're not going to be going back, they're going to be abiding in the hellfire. They died as disbelievers. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, He tells us, if they were to go back, they would carry on where they left off. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the knowledge if something was going to take place, how this would take place. The second point, my brothers and sisters, like I mentioned, my brothers, we might think to ourselves, this is too technical, but it will play a very big role later on when we try to understand a lot of these doubts that the atheist brings. So inshallah ta'ala, bear with me. The second point is al-kitaba. To believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written everything down. Everything that is going to take place in the universe, all the way till Qiyam as-Sa'ah, has been written down. And it has been carved in stone. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us in the hadith, أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى الْقَلَمِ. The first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created was the pen. فَقَالَ لَهُ أُكْتُبْ. Allah Azza wa Jal told the pen to write. So the pen spoke. Allah Azza wa Jal made it utter and speak. فَقَالَ مَاذَا أَكْتُبْ. What shall I write down? He said, أُكْتُبْ مَا هُوَ كَائِنٌ إِلَى قِيَامِ السَّاعَةِ. Write down that which is going to take place until the hour is established. In another narration, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us, وَلَئِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَنْفَعُوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَنْ يَنْفَعُوكَ بِشَيْءٍ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكَ. وَلَئِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْجِنُّ وَالْإِنسُ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَضُرُّوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَنْ يَضُرُّوكَ بِشَيْءٍ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامُ وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفُ. If the jinn and the ins were to come together in order to bring you some benefit, they wouldn't be able to do so except if it was by that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed. And if they all came together in order to harm you, they wouldn't be able to do so except in that which Allah Azza wa Jalla has decreed. رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامُ وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفُ. Pens have dried رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامِ, the pens have been raised and the scrolls have dried. I remember my brothers and sisters, subhanallah, this is back in Jahiliyyah, and hopefully maybe you can relate to it. There was a lot of Somali brothers, and I was with them at a time. They were all waiting for this individual, this African brother who they had problems with. There was a lot of problems, in Leicester, between the blacks and also the Somalis. Our African brothers, the Jamaican brothers, and the Somalis. There was a lot of gang warfare taking place. So now there's like 20 to 25 Somalis, all of them, they're waiting in front of this guy's house. They know he's on tag and he's going to be home, or he must be home at 7 o'clock. Everybody's waiting around. 7:10 he hasn't arrived, 7:20 he hasn't arrived. So all of a sudden people just started relaxing and they're talking to one another. Point of the matter is, all of them, they came together to bring this individual home, right? Out of nowhere, this guy just slips in between everybody else, drops his bike and runs into his home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that no harm touches this individual, even though the scene was set for every type of harm to afflict this individual. Another time, my brothers and sisters, and subhanallah, this was one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever, enjoyed in my life. And sometimes when you actually see something taking place, even though you might have all the theory in the back of your mind with regards to the hadith and also the verses of the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, but sometimes, how they say, in order for you to believe, you have to see it. Even though that's not fully right in every aspect, but it does really, really increase a person in his iman and causes his belief to become more firm. I remember I was in Hajj, and this very hadith that I just mentioned popped to my mind, and I was just thinking about it the rest of the night. We was in Arafah a couple of years ago. We was in Arafah, and the sun already set, and everybody was waiting everybody was waiting to go to Al-Muzdalifah. So normally you find after the sun has set, the buses tend to take very, very long. So everybody's there just waiting around. There was a lady in our group, a Somali lady, very nice lady, subhanAllah. She became very old, and she just performed Hajj. And we know, my brothers and sisters, once you go to Al-Arafah, you have finished with the most important part of Al-Hajj. Because the Messenger ﷺ told us, Al-Hajju Arafah. The Hajj is Arafah. If a person now was to miss the other parts of Al-Hajj, yes, his Hajj would still be correct, but he would need to come with an expiation or pay a penalty. The point of the matter is, there was another group right beside us. It's a very expensive, luxurious group. And I remember there was at least 30 doctors with them. 30 doctors. When do you find, other than the hospital, 30 doctors all being with one another? And Allah Azza wa Jal all brought them on the day of Arafah in one corner of the tent. All of a sudden, this lady, she passes out. I remember I went running there and I called these doctors to come and maybe help. All of these doctors are surrounding her. Everybody is taking their go in order to breathe in her mouth, trying their utmost best to help this lady. If there was ever going to be a day, my brothers and sisters, where the doctors could have done something collectively, we would have been that day. But the Qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills something, it's bound to take place. The jinn and the ins, I'm not saying there was any jinn with the doctors of that day, but all of these ins, human beings that came together from all these doctors, all in one place, my brothers and sisters, they weren't able to do something. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something to take place, and if He wants harm to touch a person, it will be touched with it. So everything has been decreed في كتاب مكنون or في لوح محفوظ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He tells in the Quran. The third aspect, my brothers and sisters, is al-mashi'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, due to His will, in His cosmic universe, His kingdom, He desires whatever He wills, He gives whatever He wills, and He takes away whatever He wills. Whether it looks to us to be something that is pleasing to us, or whether it is not. But all of this takes place built on the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. Allah Azza wa Jal, He chooses whatever He wills and He creates whatever He wills. Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells in the Quran as well, قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. Say to them, O Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Malik al-Mulk, is the owner of all the kingdoms. تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. He gives leadership to whoever He wills. He takes away the leadership from whoever He wills. He greatens whoever He wills and humiliates whoever He wills. تُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرُ. The goodness is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters, one thing I will bi'idhnillahi ta'ala mention is, sometimes due to what we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having blessed others with, it causes a person to have a lot of hasad build up in his chest. And it could even lead to a person opposing the tasarrufat, the alternations and the conduct of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as to how Allah Azza wa Jalla can keep blessing this individual, but He doesn't necessarily gift me with that as well. And that's a problem. Due to maybe a sickness, it could lead to a person leaving the fold of Islam. For somebody to ask, when Allah Azza wa Jalla clearly told us in the Quran, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He won't be asked in that which he does and that which he desires, but everybody else will be asked. The fact that a person questions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why He blessed so and so, how can He give to so and so, but He doesn't necessarily give it to me? Can you see how a sickness, which is al-hasad, envy, has led to maybe a person opposing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and questioning Him, the level that he could reach? This is why, my brothers and sisters, is one of the sicknesses that the scholars, they single out, that a lot of us might be suffering from. But in fact, my brothers and sisters, no matter how much hasad a person might have for a certain individual, you'll never be able to remove that from a person. You can have as much hasad as you will in that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed an individual with. And it tends to happen. The reason why I'm mentioning this is something that is prevalent after a person, he picks up his result. I've seen a number of people become depressed, stressed out. He's constantly thinking about his classmate who may have earned better grades than him. And if we maybe just stand over it, it's one of the first steps that lead to atheism as well. Where a person is questioning, how can really, Allah Azza wa Jal bless so and so? And then later on it leads to what? A person opposing the Qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal, His Mashiach, His will. And then one thing leads to another. That's exactly how it starts, as we mentioned earlier. Starts up with what? A belief. But if we, my brothers and sisters, had this approach to life where the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, انظروا إلى من هو أسفل منكم ولا تنظروا إلى من هو فوقكم. Look at those below you and do not look at those above you. فهو أجدر ألا تزدر نعمة الله. It causes a person to be more grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal. If we always had that approach in every aspect of life, always looking at those below us, because my brothers and sisters, I'm sure we can relate to many people being less fortunate than us. I've seen a number of people always say, Akhi Amani, just earning, minimum wage. What's minimum wage? People don't even have minimum wage. They have absolutely nothing. The fact that you are on job seekers allowance and you're picking up £250 a month. Somebody should be someone who constantly is thankful and showing his gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal. How many people do we know outside the UK who have absolutely nothing? They don't even have the qut al-yawm, the food that they eat on that day. And also, my brothers and sisters, one's constantly having hasad for others. it causes him now to belittle that which he has. Causes him now to do i'rad, to turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's Allah Azza wa Jal who gives and takes, right? Whatever Allah Azza wa Jal bless that person with, if we just turn to Allah Azza wa Jal to ask Him, because He wills whatever He wills, right? And He gives whatever He desires. But to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us what He blessed so and so with. وَمَا كَانَ عَطَاءُ رَبِّكَ مَحْذُورًا. The giving of your Lord is not restricted. وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ. Nothing is difficult. A Muslim, my brothers and sisters, shouldn't have the word impossible that exists in his dictionary. Impossible should not exist in our dictionary. No matter what we need, it should always be a possibility. إِنَّمَا أَمْرُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. If Allah wants something, He says be and it becomes. Through a dua, my brothers and sisters, the impossible becomes the possible. And those who have tasted the sweetness of their supplications being answered, they will testify to that. And Allah حَيٌّ كَرِيمٌ يَسْتَحِي مِنْ عَبْدِهِ إِذَا رَفَعَ يَدَيْهِ إِلَيْهِ يَرُدُّهُمَا صِفْرًا. Allah is shy and He's generous. That when His servant, He asks for something, that He sends him back empty-handed. It's a lecture that I've done. Some of you may want to go back to it. It's an hour-long lecture taken from the kitab of Ibn al-Qayyim, Ad-Da'u wad-Dawa, the sickness and the cure. Where Ibn al-Qayyim, he talks about the adab of how to get whatever you want answered. And a person will, completely change with how he looks at the concept of a dua. And he follows these steps, and you can find it online on my YouTube channel. The third thing, my brothers and sisters, the third aspects that, the qadr is built on is al-khalq. Afwan, the fourth. We're on number 4, right? On number 4. Is al-khalq. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything. Wallahu khalaqakum wa ma ta'malun. Allah Azza wa Jal created you, and He also created your actions. Okay, somebody might turn around and think to himself, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything, and He created my actions as well, that means I don't necessarily have a choice. No, my brothers and sisters. We are not like a feather in the middle of the wind, or like a dead person who's being washed after he's passed away, where his hand is raised and then put back down again, and he has no choice whatsoever. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave the human being the right to have a will as well. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمُ. Whoever from amongst you wants to be guided, he can be guided. And I'm sure maybe we've heard this famous story of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions this in his kitab Minhaj al-Sunnah, but there is no chain of narration that was mentioned with it. وَيُذْكَرُ أَنَّ رَجُلًا سَرِقَ فَقَالَ لِعُمَرٍ. It is mentioned about a man in the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He stole something. فَقَالَ لِعُمَرٍ. So he said to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, سَرَقْتُ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ وَقَدْرِهِ. I stole, and he tried to use the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a way to explain his actions. So Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu turned around and he said, وَأَنَا أَقْطَعُ يَدَكَ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ وَقَدْرِهِ. And I'm going to now cut your hand because of the qada and the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this individual now who tried to use the qadr as a justification for his actions, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala did not accept this from him. Likewise, if an individual, my brothers and sisters, wants to go into the local news agents and specifically pick out a prawn cocktail crisp method or a Doritos crisp and he steals that, is going to be excused for that? I done that specifically because of my choice. Or when I, مثلا, fall into zina, I had the choice to go and fall into zina, right? But rather, my brothers and sisters, this was a justification that the mushrikun they used to use. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran, سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا أَشْرَكْنَا وَلَا آبَاؤُنَا وَلَا حَرَّمْنَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ. The mushriks, they used to say, if it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we wouldn't fall into shirk. And likewise, our parents, they wouldn't be using shirk as well. They wouldn't be indulging in that whatsoever. So how do we, my brothers and sisters, reconcile between all of this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created you and He created your actions, while at the same time a person, he has the will to do whatever he wills. And a person is going to be held to account. Somebody might think to himself now, okay, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything and He's written everything down, then there is no hope for me, the fact that I've been indulging in sin all the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made me from amongst those who are doomed. And we hear this all the time. I've heard a number of brothers come up to me and say, brother, I've committed too much zina and there is no hope for me whatsoever. How do you know there is no hope for you? أَطَّلَعَ الْغَيْبَ مَا اتَّخَذَ عِنْدَ الرَّحْمَنِ عَهْدًا. Did this individual manage to have a look at the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, and has an idea of exactly what has been written down for him? No, my brothers and sisters. In another hadith, and this is quite interesting, Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ حَتَّى يَكُونَ مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ النَّارِ إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُهُ الْكِتَابِ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. A person, he keeps doing the actions of the people of the fire until between him and the fire is the arm span of a distance. So he then does the action of the people of the Jannah, the Qadr precedes him, and then he enters into Al-Jannah. This person has been committing sins all his life. He's been falling into zina. And what did I mention earlier? This guy keeps justifying his actions by saying that, Akhi, I'm doomed. I'm from the people of the fire. There's no hope for me. You don't know that. It could be that a person is sinning for 90 years. But then Allah Azza wa Jal guides him, causes him now to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal, does the actions of Al-Jannah, of the people of Jannah, and then enters into it. Are you with me, my brothers and sisters? Or is that too technical? It's like this common doubt that we hear all the time. Brothers and sisters will say, you know, khalas, I've fallen into kufr, I've left the fold of Islam, I've believed X, Y, and Z, there is no hope for me. My brothers and sisters, that's not the case, because we don't know what has been written down for us. We don't know if we're going to be shaqi or sa'id. But upon us is i'malu فَكُلُّ مُيَسِّرٍ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ, as the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. Because a man came and asked the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أَفَلَا نَمْكُثُ عَلَى كِتَابِنَا. Shall we not just totally rely now on that which has been written down for us? The Messenger said to him, act. Do the actions. فَكُلُّ مُيَسِّرٍ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. Whatever a person was created for, he will go towards that direction. You see? One last question. I just mentioned that an individual has a will. He has the choice to do whatever he wants. What about now when the dog comes and barks behind and you flinch? Is it a person's choice to flinch?
Subconscious.
But is it his choice? For example, me, I'm very, very scared of dogs, مثلا. Even cats. Sometimes the cats run fast, man, I'm going to jump. Am I doing that out of my own choice? No. I don't do that out of my own choice. But I mentioned earlier, a person has a will. If I go into the shop and I steal a prawn cocktails crisp, that's going to be on my neck. The society won't forgive me for that. I'm going to have to face the consequences, right? They split the mashiyah into two categories. The will that a person he has is split into two categories. Idtirari and also ikhtiyari. Where somebody, he does something out of choice. And also when an individual does something out of necessity or forced into doing so. For example, when I'm standing on the top of a cliff, I can either choose to jump or I can choose to hold myself. Right? But now when a dog comes running my way and then I flinch and I jump, I don't necessarily have the choice for that. So this comes in very handy when understanding the matters of Al-Qadr. Because people will turn around and say that, okay, so and so, he had a car crash. And you are telling me that he has a choice. No, but we say to you that Allah Azza wa Jal, He created everything.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that wills, as the Jabariyya say. This is an innovated concept. You have the Jabariyya who say that a person, he's forced to do it. He has no choice whatsoever. He's majboor, forced to do it. So if anybody does anything haram, he'll say, Akhi, this is the Qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is why this category of splitting the Mashiach into two, Iftirari and also Ikhtiyari, comes in handy. Because that's from the things now. If a person now gets into his car and he's driving recklessly and then gets into an accident, we can't say that this person now was what? Choosing to drive in a reliable or proper way. He was driving recklessly. He done that out of his own choice. But if a person is abiding by the law, he's got his belt, and he stops at the red lights, law-abiding citizen, mashallah alayhi. But then all of a sudden something comes out of nowhere and hits him. This is something that is iftirari. He got into the accident compelled. He never chose to maybe even reduce the risks of him getting into the accident. So now inshallah ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, this is the most interesting part of the issues of Al-Qadr. We understand this, we've understand a lot. And that is pertaining what I mentioned earlier. A lot of the atheists, my brothers and sisters, they come in from this angle. There was really a God. How can He allow all this suffering to take place in places like Syria? All these innocent young children, babies, they're all being slaughtered. Because if me and you tomorrow see a kid in danger, we're going to rush to helping that child, right? Who in his normal mind will allow a child to maybe die if he has the ability to do something? Sure, we've previously seen that Spider-Man, that French Spider-Man, right? That was all over the internet. Saw a little kid, hanging over. He couldn't hold himself from climbing and saving that child, right? So if anyone has even a mustard grain of rahmah in his heart, he can't allow these kids to pass away in front of him without him trying to solve that problem. Before we get into responding back, my brothers and sisters, there has to be something that we establish and convince that individual who is going and suffering from these doubts, who's on the fringes of his religion. The first point is, my brothers and sisters, to make this individual aware that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah Azza wa Jal لا يتكلمون إلا بحق. They don't speak except with the truth. And we can, give them examples of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something in the Quran and is currently taking place. We can prove the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by convincing that individual. And an example of this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala مثلا, He tells us about Fir'aun. He tells us about Fir'aun. فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. The famous story of Musa and also Fir'aun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, فأتبعهم فرعون وجنوده بغيا وعدوى حتى إذا أدركه الغرق قال آمنت أنه لا إله إلا الذي آمنت به بنو إسرائيل وأنا من المسلمين الآن وقد عصيت قبل وكنت من المفسدين. When Fir'aun started chasing after Musa and his people, behind them was the army of Fir'aun and in front of them was the sea. Even some of the companions, disciples of Musa, they felt like they were doomed. Khalas, the matter is done. Behind them was Fir'aun and his people, and they wanted to slaughter them. They wanted to take their lives, right? And they never thought in a million years they would be able to cross that sea. قال كلا إنا لمدركون. He said إنا لمدركون. قال كلا إن معي ربي سيهدين. They said خلاص, we're going to be taken. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he had حسن الظن بالله عز وجل. He had good thought of Allah Azza wa Jal, and he said, no, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to guide me. And the rest is history, something that we're all fully aware of. Point of the matter is, my brothers and sisters, Allah tells us in the Quran, and He said this 1400 years ago, فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. We will preserve and save your body, so that you will remain as an example for the people who come after you. Until this very day, my brothers and sisters, where is the body of Fir'aun? The body of Fir'aun is still preserved. People can go and visit it. People can have a look at it. And it's quite surprising as well. Why? Because it's not known scientifically that a body can be preserved till this very day. And you can still see just about the body is still intact. Of course, the skin has gone, but normally even bones, my brothers and sisters, after 40, 50 years, they're going to decay, right? It's not going to remain in the grave as well. Something that is very well known scientifically. But the body of Fir'aun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that it remains. And likewise the other signs of the hour, that one can maybe bring forth to this individual who is suffering from these doubts. For example, it came in the hadith of Jibreel. When Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, he asked the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, أخبرني عن الساعة قال ما المسؤول عنها بأعلم من السائل. The one being asked doesn't have any knowledge more than the person who's asking. قال فأخبرني عن أماراتها. Tell me of its signs. So he said, وأن ترى الحفاة العراة العالة الرعاء الشاء يتطاولون بالبنيان. When you're going to see barefooted, naked individuals who come from very, very low backgrounds, competing with one another, making buildings. Anybody looks at Dubai, my brothers and sisters, 70, 80 years ago, what they have now, they wouldn't dream of having. And even the Dubaians, they will tell you this, that they were the lowest of the people, they were backwards, as they say. But this petrol money that they ended up having, not in any way am I saying this in a bad way, insulting anybody, but once they ended up receiving this petrol money, they started competing with one another, making one building after the other. Something the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us when? 1400 years ago. We weren't told of this like yesterday. We weren't told of this a couple of weeks ago or a couple of years ago. 1400 years ago we were told about this. Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about the fly. إذا وقع الذباب في شراب أحدكم فليغمسه ثم لينزعه فإن في أحد جناحيه داء وفي الآخر شفاء. If a fly falls into your drink, then push the other side of the fly inside there as well. Why? Because in one of the fly you find that there is a disease, there's a sickness, and the other side there's a cure. Messenger Sallallahu told us about the hikmah 1400 years ago. Doctors are only finding about it right now. I think a couple of, like a year ago, I read an article somewhat around that period. But the Messenger Sallallahu told us 1400 years ago. Only now they came to realize that there is beneficial health effects if a person sits down when he's drinking. Only now they found out. And that one shouldn't do it, and that it has side effects and so on and so forth, that if a person drinks standing up. Messenger ﷺ told us 1400 years ago. And there's many, many examples, my brothers and sisters, that we can give with regards to Dalail al-Nubuwwah. That which shows the prophecy of the Messenger ﷺ. And likewise, I'll conclude with this point before I move on to the next point. The Messenger ﷺ said to his daughter Fatima, وَإِنَّكِ أَوَّلُ أَهْلِي لُحُوقًا بِي وَنِعْمَ السَّلَفُ أَنَا لَكِ. You're going to be the first of them that will join me, meaning to pass away, from my family, from my household. And in fact, when you look at it, Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, she passed away 6 months after the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it happened just as the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned. So inshallah ta'ala, I'll move now on to how to maybe reconcile between the statements of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. The dua that we read in al-istiftah, one of the things that we say is وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. Evil doesn't go back to you, O Allah. And And reconciling that now with all the evil that is taking place, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willing everything that takes place in the cosmic universe. You see? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having created everything and the people's actions and so on and so forth. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, what this actually means is وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ, evil cannot be ascribed back to you. أي فإنك لا تخلق شرا محضا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't create anything that is pure evil. Some of you probably think, okay, what about shaitan? We're going to come on to it. بل كل ما يخلقه ففيه حكمة. عفوا فكل ما يخلقه ففيه حكمة. Everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates, it has a hikmah in it. There is a wisdom behind it. هو باعتبارها خير ولكن قد يكون فيه شر لبعض الناس. To some it looks like, my brothers and sisters, from the apparent that this is something that is evil. فهذا شر جزئي إضافي. This is something that is subjective to people, right? فأما شر كلي أو شر مطلق فالرب سبحانه وتعالى منزه عنه. As for something being purely evil, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly and totally free from it. I'll give you now examples. وبالمثال يتضح المقال. The presence of Iblis. Is there any khair in Iblis? Huh? Iblis having a presence in this dunya. Can we say in any way that there is khair in it? Because Iblis is Iblis. Not only does he come with evil, but he swore and shown us in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us about him swearing by Allah Azza wa Jal. فَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. And through your mighty, I will misguide every single one of them. This is a clear enemy. This guy is a clear enemy. Is there any khair with regards to the presence of shaitan? Huh? It's a question, guys.
No.
Huh?
No.
The uncle, jazakallah khair, huh?
Yes. Yes.
He said yes. We've got ikhtilaf in the masjid.
You can take benefit from like his arrogance and pride, not to fall into it.
Okay. As the brother mentioned, that's one of the benefits that comes with the shaitan. His arrogance is a lesson for us. But not only that, my brothers and sisters, the shaitan having a presence in this universe, he whispers in other people's minds. Whispers in other people's ears, right? So a person becomes weak, his iman drops, and he falls into zina mathalan, or he falls into riba mathalan, or he falls into any other evil. This sinner, he knows that he has done something wrong. If he is an individual now who is smart and intelligent, what does he go and do? Goes and repents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He repents to Allah Azza wa Jalla, and what does that entail? Inna Allah yuhibbu at-tawwabin wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who constantly run back to Him. Wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves those who purify themselves. Are you with me, guys? So it started off from a process that this individual ended up eventually becoming from those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, because he constantly went back to Him to ask for His forgiveness. Another example, my brothers and sisters, now a mother, she's taking her kids to school mathalan, 9 in the morning, we know there's a lot of traffic, it's the rush hour. There's 4 kids in there. She gets into a car crash, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. After the car crash, everybody comes out, having been afflicted, having died in the car crash, except the mother. There's really a God. How can He allow the mother? The mother, she's at the end of her life. She probably doesn't have anything else to offer. She's very old. And these kids still have their whole life to look forward to. It only makes sense for Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow all the kids to live, and the woman who's at the end of her life to pass away. Is there any goodness inside this, my brothers and sisters? Why didn't Allah Azza wa Jalla stop this? Huh?
Could be like the story of Musa and Qadr.
Jazakallahu khairan. But before that, I'll mention another hadith. Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, مَا مِن كُنَّ مِنْ إِمْرَأَةٍ تُقَدِّمُ ثلاثا من ولدها إلا كان لها حجابا من النار. Never does a woman lose out on 3 of her kids. Or مثلا, these 3 kids, they pass away. It's a terrible experience that the mother goes through, right? Very hard to take. Losing 1 child is a big enough of a suffering. But she's lost out on 3. إِلَّا كَانَ لَا حِجَابًا مِنَ النَّارِ. Except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place a barrier between her and the hellfire. Hadith in Sahih Bukhari. So a woman, she asked, Ya Rasulullah, wathnan, what about 2? He said, wathnan. He said, also 2. And then you have the story of Qadr and Musa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ فَخَشِينَ أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. As for the ghulam, the kid that Qadr alayhi salatu wasalam killed, he wasn't doing this out of his own accord. As we get told later on, وَمَا فَعَلْتُ عَنْ أَمْرِي ذَلِكَ تَأْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْطِ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. He says he didn't do this from his own accord. He was being revealed to. Revelation was coming down onto him. So the point of the matter is, Allah tells, وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ. His parents, they were believers. فَخَشِينَا يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. We feared that this child would drive his parents to disbelief. We feared that this child now would drive his parents to disbelief. How many parents, my brothers and sisters, have I had today? Why is Allah Azza wa Jal trialing me with this child? I wish he was dead. I wish, he just finds himself in a car accident and he leaves this life. He's brought onto me so much trouble. This kalima this mother has just uttered, my brothers and sisters, is very, very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. You see? And one thing leads to another. Can you see all the problems she's going through because of this child? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to protect maybe this mother who's lost 3 kids in a car accident, from later on her being maybe busy from the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. And then them giving her issues, driving her crazy. So in another hadith, it says exactly the same. وَكَانَ طُبِعَ يَوْمَ طُبِعَ كَافِرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a seal on his heart from the day He created him as a disbeliever. وَلَوْ عَاشَ لَأَرْهَقَ أَبْوَيْهِ طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. And had he lived, he would have violated his parents. And he would have driven them to disbelief. Another example, my brothers and sisters, same goes with miscarriages. Sometimes, it's very hard to take. It's a very difficult experience to go through. A young brother and a young sister, they're married, they're trying their utmost best every single night to have children. Just doesn't seem to be coming. 6 months, 7 months down the line. All of a sudden now she gets pregnant. And then a couple of months later, after they've been trying so hard, she has a miscarriage. It's hard to take. It's one of the most terrible experiences that somebody can go through, right? Guess what happens later on? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees that they separate with one another. Maybe if that kid was still involved, my brothers and sisters, it would have been maybe a very difficult experience. It would have caused problems. She may have used the child against him, as this is a common prevalent problem that some of our communities are facing today. And living in this government, or with this government, doesn't always make things the best for the guy, right? Point of the matter is, later on he thinks to himself, oh, subhanallah, imagine I had a child, I wouldn't be able to maybe do what I'm currently doing now. I wouldn't maybe even be able to get married to the woman that I love, because the parents, they don't want to have this baggage following her daughter, right? And there's so many different possibilities as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved you from this. And from the things that they mentioned with regards to ash-shukr, being grateful and showing your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we even thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He removes things that we really love in our lives. So this individual, this woman that you really, really love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed her from your life. You see it to be as a problem, but rather it might be a blessing in disguise. As I mentioned earlier, I knew a brother, subhanallah, as a side benefit. I know I tell quite a few stories, but فيه من الفائدة. Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badri tends to do that as well, makes it relevant. Point is, I knew a brother who was married to a sister. When he was getting married, he just got accepted at the Medina University. Got accepted at Medina University. So love is blind, he's in between what? Getting married and also pursuing his dream of learning the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. But he still loves her so much. Doesn't want to let this opportunity get away. So he's telling them, I want to take you to Medina. The family gets involved. No, too early. Time goes on. The brother feels like his iman is going down. He's just let a great opportunity, Medina University, that doesn't come by every single day, go past. So later on he gets into the divorce. His brother tells me this story, guys. And he knew, subhanallah, had he gotten kids with her, he would have probably ended up staying in that relationship and he would have been controlled, under the thumb. Because he felt like this is exactly where the relationship was heading. The divorce takes place, no kids involved. He gets an opportunity, another one to go and study abroad. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal removes a blessing, what you see as a blessing, but in fact is a blessing in disguise. And that is maybe because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something better in store for you as well. You see? I remember also, subhanallah, a story one of my family relatives was telling me, that a brother was involved in a car crash. People around him passed away. This was the start, and he was somebody who used to commit zina all the time. From after the car crash, the brother started practicing. See how one evil led to a great benefit taking place? I'll tell you a personal story of myself. There was a very long period, my brothers and sisters, where I lived in London. There was a very bad area where all the Somalis, they used to hang around with the Arabs and the Eritreans, and there was 4 generations of gangs. 4 generations of gangs. Parents had enough. You had the elders, then you had the youngest, then you had the youngest, and then their youngest as well. 4 generations. Parents just totally lost hope. They felt like, when is this ever going to finish? The death of one brother, my brothers and sisters, a very close friend of mine, called Sharmaki, you can put him into Google, he comes up, was involved in a fatality where he ended up being shot in the head. That was the start of, my brothers and sisters, the whole street, all the streets being cleaned of drugs, CC scams. But obviously you've got things going on there now, but a lot of these brothers who were on the streets, they ended up leaving it. Some of them went to Egypt, some of them went to Yemen. I remember I left London completely and I went to Leicester. Maybe it wasn't that incident there, I wouldn't necessarily be sitting in front of you today. Remember, they even put his body inside a little hut outside the masjid. When everybody went to pray the janazah on him, the parent wanted all his friends to go inside and see their friend who was just shot. And it could be as a reminder for them. How many brothers do I know went and started seeking knowledge? Some went to Egypt, some went to Yemen, some went to Saudi, and later came back, they're benefiting their communities. And this was the start of why there was a whole chain of pleasing incidents that ended up taking place. So inshallah ta'ala, this is what I wanted to speak about today, my brothers and sisters. I hope that inshallah ta'ala clarified some things to a certain degree. Okay. Another important, very vital, crucial topic is, and we're not going to maybe have time to go through this, but is the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If anybody deserved a wonderful, great life, my brothers and sisters, he would have been Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? The greatest creation to ever walk on the face of this earth. But it was him who went through the most calamities. Sahib al-Arjuza al-Mi'iyya, Tahawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions some lines of poetry. He says, وَوُلْدُهُ مِنْهَا خَلَى إِبْرَاهِيم فالأول القاسم حاز التكريم وزينب رقية وفاطمة وأم كلثوم لهن خاطمة وطاهر طيب عبد الله وقيل كل اسم لفرد زاهي والكل في حياته ذاخ الحمام وبعده فاطمة بنصفها. All of his children, my brothers and sisters, he had 7 kids. 6 out of the 7, they all tasted death in his lifetime. All of them tasted death in his lifetime. Can you imagine, my brothers and sisters, how difficult that would be? It didn't just stop there. Some of his close relatives were killed. Hamza, his uncle, his close companions were killed, and their blood was shed in front of him. He went through all of that. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam accepted it, and he went on with his life because he knew الدنيا سجن المؤمن وجنة الكافر. The dunya is the prison of the believer, and it is the paradise of the kafir. So why Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, he was the type of individual who would take utter enjoyment when calamities and trials and afflictions came his way. And this is the highest tabaqah. There's one thing being patient, and there's one thing being satisfied with the calamities that come your way, and there's one thing also loving the calamities that are before you. Imagine, my brothers, that we had from the Salaf, from the people of the past, 3 golden generations, they'd be like, yes. Every time a calamity went their way, yes, khalas, alhamdulillah. Maybe he lost a child. It's a difficult experience, right? But he's loving it. Why? Because the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَشَدُّ النَّاسِ إِبْتِلَاءً الْأَنْبِيَاءِ فَالْأَمْثَلُ يُنْسَانُ عَلَى قَدْرِ دِينِهِ. The most severely tested and trialed are the Anbiya. Those that are like them, and then those that are like them. Another hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا أَحَبَّ شَخْصًا ابْتَلَاهُ. If Allah Azza wa Jalla loves an individual, He trials him. They felt like that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has abandoned or forsaken them when the trials and calamities weren't coming their way. This is why some of the people of the past, like Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, لَيْسَ بِفَقِيهٍ مَنْ لَا يَعُدُّ الْبَلَاءَ نِعْمَةً وَالرَّخَاءُ بَلَاءً. نعم. One cannot be a faqih until he sees the calamities that are coming his way to be a ni'mah. He sees that Allah subhanahu is trying me, is expiating my sins. I'm getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla through it. He hasn't forgotten me. Of course, there's a number of reasons as to why a person might be afflicted. It could be because of what his own hands have earned. But the fact that calamities weren't coming your way, they used to get really, really terrified and scared. That's why Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala used to say, my brothers and sisters, ماذا يفعل بأعدائي وجنتي في صدري. What can my enemies do to me? And my Jannah is in my heart. You know what this Jannah was? The Jannah is being satisfied when all the calamities come your way. A person doesn't have any rigidness in his heart. So why could this happen? Yes, he might not necessarily utter it in his tongue,